So, welcome. Another session, coffee with Joe and Paul, or morning beverage.
Yeah, well, it's water for me today. I'm just hydrating like crazy.
Booyaka, salute to the H2O in
That's
honor
right.
of Bobby Boucher. So, Joe and I, when we do these, we have random topics that we just come up with before we even get on here. So, in this episode, if you have had challenges balancing commitments and commitments and the lack of commitment, if you have challenges sticking to the will and sticking to your commitment or your goal, but you also want to take care of yourself and not beat yourself up too much and you're caught in the middle, this is the space for you to be. You're in the right place. So
right. I would say, I'm going to add this. If you commit, if you overcommit, if you're way committed, if you put too much time into your family, too much time into your business, too much time into friends and community, and you're not balanced in any way. Because ultimately we're talking about commitment and will versus surrender, but balance too, right? I mean, just the idea of life balance, if you will.
Here it is, man.
Yeah.
So let's, before we dive in, I want to give a little bit of context to how this came up. So I was talking, as I mentioned before, Joe and I, we decided on a topic before we get on here. And something that I'm practicing right now is sharing my journeys. And I work with these tarot or oracle cards. And I picked a card yesterday, and the card is this card, Staff. Okay. So what this card was telling me that I'm going to learn this lesson and then teach it in a yoga class later. It talked about the staff as a symbol of authority. And the staff reminds us of the impermanence of all things and that your authority must come from your deep longing to serve. Now, the invitation behind the essence of this card is to use the power of the staff to unite what appears to be divided, to find that delicate balance between will and surrender. Yeah, that's exactly So, and Joe, the crazy thing was I pulled the card. I didn't look at the card until I was done with my meditation, my center.
Right.
And I was like struggling. I was like having tough, it was so tough for me to stay focused. And then I pulled this card about balance.
Yeah.
And the conversation today is around that balance of the commitment, striving, like I want to accomplish something.
Right.
And then also the other polarity of things didn't go my way. I didn't get this done. I failed here.
Yep. And
having grace.
Right.
So I'm going to open this up, man. I want to ask you,
like
when you hear the thought of the phrase balance between will and surrender.
Yeah.
What comes up for you, man?
Wow. So first of all, when you told me about this and you told me you pulled that card and it was the balance between will and surrender, it hit hard because that's actually really where I'm at. I've been doing a ton of work right now in my life with myself and with a coach that I've hired on this exact topic. I mean, this is like the 100% crux of the depth of what we're doing, challenging me to learn to commit and to grow my capacity and to push myself further. And at the same time, to actually to be able to surrender a bit to what is and to surrender to the possibilities of what will happen when I commit and have to say no to things and put up boundaries. The ability to surrender as well to spiritual belief, the ability to surrender in the potential of love in the future, or to family in the future. The things that I say I want will require some deep surrender to get to without struggle. And so that's what comes up is, for me, this is exactly what I've been digging hard on in all of these ways. Just how do I become a man who's even more true to my word, who has even more output, who has even more commitment, but who actually has even more ability to be with the unknown, ability to be with with uncertainty, to allow what's coming up, to experience and receive love, to be conscious and accountable and aware of creating the outcomes I want, and also fully letting go and allowing, right? So Now let's
Yes,
bring this,
man.
we
Yeah.
can go kind of, okay, so let's bring this down a little bit to a real
Yeah.
specific level, right? So I'm going to
Yeah.
give some examples.
Yeah. Then I got a specific example I think is going to resonate too. So
Gotcha,
what's the
gotcha.
example you got?
Well, I'm going to give you this. I want to give you the example from a lot of my clients, like what's really going on for them. I've been privileged to work with the last year, especially a handful of clients who are just very successful in their work, in their business. They have, from a very young age, been able to produce. They've been able to create in business. And what that means is they've been really strong in the muscles of having transactional relationships
Mm,
with themselves, with others, with their employers, with their clients. And then they don't know this, but when they're hiring me, it's really to learn to be more balanced and move into deeper relationship. So they've sacrificed self-knowledge and self-awareness for industry knowledge, for technical skill. They've sacrificed the ability to connect deeply and relate to people for the
right.
ability to look at the zeros and ones and see how to structure a deal and how to use the right words and how to create success and how to leverage relationships.
Right.
Like they're brilliant at that stuff that I'm not even that brilliant at, So like that's a lot of what's happening. Or they've learned to succeed and be this person who gives a lot to community, gives a lot to family, who has a good steady job, but has not been able to find the compassion and passion of self and self-love to take care of their own health. They put out all
Mm,
this energy, then they're depleted and they're stressed, so they fill themselves with the things that get you an easy food buzz, and they don't challenge their bodies because their body isn't important. They're last on the list. So like
right.
these are some of the ways it shows up with people. And like just a quick one, for example, for me last week, I put a bunch of heavy goals on my outreach for my business, for my practice. And so the challenge was hit everything for the first time in a while
Right.
and do it without a lot of tension in my body, without negative self-talk, without being without being this taskmaster in my own heart. How do I like lean in to commit to this and to
Right.
feel the tension, but to not make it about me being messed up if I don't get there, or what's wrong with me if I procrastinate? Just going, all right
Right.
now, self-love might be to just pick up the phone and make that call that I'm trying to avoid. It's like, so anyway, that was a lot. And you had an example. I'd love to hear that as well.
Yeah, dude. Well, you said something that is so relevant to this conversation in regards to something we spoke about in the last conversation, in one of our other videos, capacity.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so fitting that we have this as the next conversation, because I feel like this is the practice and the work in expanding capacity.
Yes. Yes.
Where is that space? Like, where is that? It's like trying to balance on the seesaw. Like,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
go one way, I can go the other. And the key piece is there's got to be grace. There's got to be compassion in the process, because what I'm finding, and especially like now I'm building out some programs, and I'm like, I'm recognizing the work and the detail on the back end. And I recognize also now this is my growth edge, because this is the thing that really I could say scared me, but this is the challenge for me to really get me to go against that edge and really expand my capacity, is to really build this program that's been in my mind that I'm like running away from, like, yeah, okay, I'll get that soon.
Yes. There you go.
This is the growth edge, man. And it's like, what I recognize here is the will to want to expand is, okay, we got to be able to go to that end of the spectrum, and then at the same time have the power to expand across the other spectrum, to use where we didn't accomplish what we wanted to see where we get to go there. So let me give you an example.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the week, I'll set up in my planner, I'll set up like some objectives, right? So when I go through, I'll mark them off, and I'll take notes at the beginning or at the end of the week. So I'm like, okay, what worked, what didn't work? It's like, it's my practice to really stay out of beating myself up and stay in compassion and growth.
Sure.
Like, how do I grow in the space? So what question that I asked myself, right? And it was something that, it was over the weekend. I said, okay, what about these things that I didn't accomplish scare me or
Yeah.
challenge me? And I was like sitting here writing in my journal. I was like, wow, man, like I was blocked right there. And then I wrote and I was like, well, you know, that means that I have to do this. That means that I got to get more detail oriented. That means that I have to be on top of people when in the beginning of things. That means like I got to think ahead instead of always being spontaneous.
Right.
So there was pieces in there. This is the balance in the will and the surrender. It's okay, I didn't get something done, and then surrendering to, oh wow, but there's something there. Why I didn't get it done?
Mm-hmm.
Not just that I didn't procrastinate. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll give myself that because I can procrastinate my behind off.
Yeah.
And what are the reasons I'm procrastinating? Like, what in that is something that I've been hesitant to do? And you said something that I feel is like this saying that's been coming in my mind, that's been resonating in my mind. Go there to grow there.
Mm.
Like you said, I forget how you phrased it, but in this space of finding the balance between will and surrender,
Yeah.
I got to be willing to go to that space that I don't want to, so I can grow into that space.
Right. Right.
And listen, I mean, bringing it to applicable terms, I think the key part, or down to scalable terms, the key part is to learn to have that. You mentioned before that, how'd you say, compassionate accountability, or that?
Yeah. That's what I'm working on for myself. And this is what I do for clients every day. I'm already there in that space for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the work is to get there for myself, which is, I want to say, compassionate accountability. So for example, a client might show up and be like, yo, I didn't do this thing or that thing. And they're all upset. They're beating themselves up. They have shame, whatever.
Right.
And I'm going, all right, I hear you. Let's take a look at why you didn't do it. And let's take a look at if you're willing to commit this week and what needs to happen. But at the same time, can we hold compassion for, okay, you didn't get there for a reason.
Right.
There was a reason. And now, instead of looking at why you're a failure, let's look at how this is a gift, because it's going to give us more knowledge. And now you have another opportunity to commit again. Right. So like, we're not going to let ourselves off the hook. We're not just going to, allow this to pass as if it didn't matter. We're going to look at it. We're going to find the gifts. We're going to find the gold. And it's not like I should feel like, okay, it's no big deal that I didn't do it. No, it's a big deal. You said you want something and you didn't go after it.
Right.
That should be a big deal. You either let's reframe what you think you want, which happens all the time. When we challenge ourselves to grow capacity, we sometimes realize we don't necessarily need or want the thing on that end. We needed something else that's internal. But anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, but but anyway, so that's it. It's like, I'm going to stand there in a place of love for my client when they don't hit their mark, but still challenge them, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, how do I get there for myself? And so that was it. You were saying something, and yes, it's about compassionate accountability. How can I hold both? Because I'm real good at accountability and putting myself under stress and strain, and other parts of my life fall apart.
Right.
Or I'm real good at being compassionate and in the flow and spontaneous and allowing myself to, okay, well, I missed that mark. It's not a big deal. I'll get back to it next week. Ooh, here's the lesson in it. My magician stuff starts going and I feel ego and good about it, right? So I've been real good at holding one or the other. And to grow capacity, it's like, now it's time to rock both. You talked about like an oppositional framing, right? Like on one side, it's pushing the limits to your edge, your capacity. On the other side, it's surrender, like the will and surrender. Well, I don't know if they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. I'm wondering if they're just straight up a parallel lines, So it's like, if I'm going to grow my capacity, which means growing my will at times,
Right.
pushing into discomfort, being in the place I don't want to be so I can grow, then it's not a matter of going further on the other side of the spectrum. It's just a matter of bringing that compassion along with us. Can I grow my capacity to be compassionate while I'm pushing myself into being into will, right? Surrender and will at the same time.
Yeah, that's big.
They're coupled, right? They need to be with each other.
They gotta be. Now that you put it that way, because the spectrum, wow, the spectrum isn't even the right way to look at it. I feel like the spectrum, if I'm looking at it as a spectrum, that's already creating an opposition.
Yeah.
Whereas if I look at the two as in relationship, if I'm just looking to expand my capacity, then I got to be able to grow my capacity for compassion.
Right. Or capacity
Especially
to
for self.
trust. Yeah. Trust.
Yes.
Trust.
Trust too. Yes, man.
It's like this, man. We're both into our bodies. We're both physical. If you train harder, you got to rest harder. You got to replenish more thoughtfully
Yes.
with nutrients. I'm dealing with this now. Like I've been running more, but I'm also like trying to cut weight, and just as actually as a commitment and accountability practice, and to do some stuff with my body where it's like, can I challenge my body to be its trimmest, its fittest, while still loving it, which has not been my past. But anyway, so there's this element of like, okay, I've been really low on carbohydrates in these weeks where I'm trying to cut. And then I'm also out there trying to run, and I'm like, oh, this is not working. It's like, I've got to refuel, right? I've got to refuel on it. If I want to drive one lever, then I have to make sure I'm refueling right. So this relaxation, carving out space for self-care, having trust in one's journey that we'll get there, having compassion for ourselves needs to come along with that strengthening of will, that pushing into the hard places, that committing to creating programs, right? And that committing to the whatever. For me, it's like a bunch of outreach calls and emails and conversations to actually shift my network a little bit. That's what's happening. And I'm curious about, man, I'm thinking like, what are the things that we're talking high level as we do?
Yeah.
I'm like thinking, what are the things that people out there who are listening or might be, or watching might be needing to balance? What are these forces that are on maybe a seesaw or on some sort of like, they're on the Bosu, you and I know what that is, but like we're on the ball where we're trying to like the balance ball or whatever, Yeah.
Moving and surfing, man.
Whatever it is, right? Yeah. What are some of the things that we put up there?
So there's three areas right off the top that I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Health.
Yep.
Relationship.
Yep.
Career.
Mm-hmm.
Finances. Actually, 4. Finances.
Yeah.
Okay. In each of those, I'll speak for myself. In each of those, I find that there's an area that I get to work towards, or I get to practice in taking care of myself in each of those areas.
Yep.
Like taking care of my body. And I'm working on this right now with my cardiovascular capability. Like, just like for how long I can go, get the hip moving. It's like oil in the hips. Relationship.
Yeah.
Making sure I have that time for myself so I can know what's happening inside myself without the influence of another. So now when I'm with another, I can be authentic and true.
Yeah.
Career. Assessing, knowing my skills, assessing my skills. Where's my growth edge? Where's somewhere that I haven't been willing to go to grow?
Mm-hmm.
So now I can bring my best self to my career. Finances. What makes me comfortable? How much do I need? What do I need to save? What do I need to save for?
Right.
Now I could take care of all the other things in confidence and with priority. To me, those 4 areas are the places where we get to achieve this balance, using the staff, using our authority, our inner wisdom, our inner self. I think it said something about that too. Oh, by the way, it says yes. Oh, here's an invitation, this part here. You know how to fly easily between polarities, how to weigh all possibilities and instinctively select the right path. Trust your inner wisdom and take the first step on a journey that your heart has already embarked on. So like that right there is even the gem for tapping into self. What does the heart feel? Like you just went through it when you talked about I'm running, I'm trying to cut calories. But your body's like, yo, Joe, I need some carbs, son. Put me on some carbs. And you know what you did? Because you have that self-awareness and that knowledge, you're like, okay, you know what? Hold up. I know I'm trying to trim, but this is what my body needs right now. Because that in turn will help me lose the weight.
Right.
I'll be fueled to run longer, run further. Yeah. My body will be like, oh, okay, I know some other food's coming. So let's burn whatever fat we got, man, because we got stuff, we got resources. Simone.
Right. Yeah. And so one thing I want to I want to touch on a couple things.
Yeah.
This is a slight tangent, but I do want to speak it.
Yeah, speak it, and then we'll wrap it up, man.
Because a lot of people have looked at me and my past and my experience with a lot of inspiration around health and food and weight and body. I want to be really clear, since we are talking about me cutting weight, this is not a practice for physical health. I'm stepping into a practice to challenge myself for commitment and for capacity, like literally. So I don't care about, I recently started weighing myself because I said, you know what? I've always wanted to hit this number. I want to see how I'll look. I believe I deserve it. I believe it's something that I can do, but I sabotage. I keep myself from being at the place I really want to be. And so it's time. But but I hadn't weighed myself probably a year before. Cutting and being fixated on a weight number, from a health perspective, that's not where I'd want people to think is okay. I don't like that. It can be toxic when not done with the right mindset. So I'm in this place of going, all right, I got myself to basic health and wellness. And I want to see what happens if I challenge myself to be more into fitness and athleticism. And what's happening is there's this well of power that I have that I don't believe I have. And so I'm using body to challenge myself around that. And I just want to be really clear. I don't advocate for like weight cutting or for being fixated on a number. I advocate for quite the opposite. I advocate more for intuitive eating and learning self-care and actually understanding the emotions that go into how we feed. I've been doing that work for 7, 8 years, 10 years. So it's kind of like I'm at a different threshold than I think what most people listening might be at. Not to put myself on a pedestal, but I just want to be clear about that, because I don't want anyone to go, oh, Joe's counting calories, Joe's cutting weight. Like that's not, I should be doing, no.
That's not what you're talking about, man.
That's not how I do with people I work with either. But so the thing that was interesting for me was you talked about career, finances, relationships, and health. And so a coach I was working with for a couple of years, he has this great quadrant model that I believe really, so we have these things, we have competing commitments. If we're familiar, right? What's at risk, right, Paul? So we have competing commitments. We want one thing, but it might mean in our mind that we have to sacrifice another. A lot of the time they have to do with identity. A lot of the time they have to do with resources. If I do X, I won't have time for Y. Right? If I do X, I won't have energy for Y. Or if I do X, then that's not who I am. We have all these competing commitments. Right. And he really frames it beautifully. He says, at the end of the day, we're not really talking about finances. We're not really talking about our work. We're not really talking about just relationship itself or our relationships. We're not just talking about health. He's looking at it this layer of what are the experiences that we want to have. And after years and years of coaching and interviewing people, he's come up with a different quadrant model, which to me blows my mind, really works, which is freedom, aliveness, peace, and love.
Aliveness.
Yeah. Freedom, aliveness, peace, and love. And that we're always kind of playing with the levers of trying to balance these things. But we often think that,
wow,
if I have love, I can't have freedom. If I have peace, then I can't be super excited and alive, right? So this is just other ways of looking at it. Some people might not feel like that the other stuff fits, but it's just, we're looking at what experience do I want? If I'm in a career that's exciting, then I want aliveness.
Right.
A lot of times we think in our capitalist world, if I push myself to have that amazing career, then I might have to sacrifice love or I might sacrifice peace. It's like, these are the things, the levers we're pulling at. So there's all these beautiful ways to look at it. Right. There's all these great symbols. There's all these ways you can slice it up and dice it up. But I just wanted to add that little bit here because it's been resonating for me a lot.
Blessings, brother. Thank you for that, man. That's big. This is kind of, we may have to come back and revisit this after a while, because this is depth. This is deep, because I'm even thinking about the 4 I mentioned and the 4 you mentioned. And damn, man, those are gems right there. So I know we're going to wrap up for time. Before we do that, just as we wrap up, what would you say as a step someone can take if a lot of what we're saying is resonating with someone? What's a step that they can achieve, that they could take to step into balance between will and surrender?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a hard one. I think it's really circumstantial based on the person, based on their life.
Mm.
Um, but I think about this one. A lot of people who are really high achieving, they can actually practice by like saying no to something, right?
Mm.
It's like people who are highly committed, give a lot to community, give a lot to work, call out on a day where you're not really sick
Right.
and watch how it's okay, right? Skip one of the things that your kid is doing this week that you always the best parent, you go to everything. Stay home, take a bath. It's like those are kind of the things I'm thinking about. Like if you're
Yes.
really social all the time and you're always out there, just allow yourself to go, you know what, tonight I'm staying in. Because what we're talking about here is when we're used to saying yes to a lot of things and taking on a lot,
Yeah.
we think that we're going to really miss something or lose something. We'll lose status, we'll lose connection, we'll lose opportunity, we'll lose momentum. And just step back and go, you know what? You can trust that you're not going to lose it.
Right.
You're not going to lose it. How about this? In a relationship, let's say in a relationship, and there's, you guys are, maybe you're bickering about something, you disagree about something, they want to spend the money on this, you want to spend the money on that. If you're the kind of person that usually bends over, stand up and tell your partner, hey, at the end of the day, I tend to give in all the time, and I'd really like to work on my own space in this relationship and the will, so I'm gonna stay strong here.
Mm.
Or the opposite. If you tend to like latch onto things and argue a lot, just let go.
Yep. There it is, man.
You know what I mean? Like,
Do something different is what I'm
yeah.
hearing.
If she wants to spend $5 extra on the pizza toppings, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just let go, surrender.
There it is. Let go and surrender, man.
Yeah.
Do something different and surrender to it. Like,
Right.
and for me, my one piece of advice would be create space for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Create space for yourself where you can truly identify what's real for you, what feels right for you, what doesn't feel right for you. Create space for yourself.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to it, there's nothing more important than you. Because if you're not aware of what's happening within you or you're not aware enough to take care of yourself, a whole lot of stuff is going to go awry because you're just going to go along with the tide and along with the current.
Right.
Being like a bamboo tree and just flowing and swaying and still staying rooted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You're right.
keep that space. Keep that space.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, you want to close this out, man?
Sure. Absolutely. So yeah, if you have any thoughts, ideas, comments, please drop them below. There'll be ways to contact both Paul and I and reach out to us, where we'd love to help you out, whether it be in your organization, your business, or your personal life, or your love life, your health, your fitness, whatever is going on for you. The bigger picture here is there are these competing commitments. The bigger picture is we're in a culture, we swim in a stew, we're fish in an ocean, if you will, that doesn't teach us self-compassion, that pedestals the people that have high capacity, but doesn't really show us what it takes for them to get there. So if any of this resonates with you, I'd say reach out. That's the one thing we didn't say. It's like, well, what's helping me with all of this? What I've been talking about, my stuff I've been talking about, it's all been work I've been doing with my last two coaches, my current coach, my last coach, and also a relationship coach. So it's like, if you really want a corporate shift, a personal shift, get some help, get some service,
Yeah, man.
Offer yourself a service of insight and action and commitment and challenge and compassion that we offer,
Nice. And you have any programs coming up you want to tell the people about, man?
Let's see, what do I have coming up? No specific programs. I'm working on a few things. I'm working on a few things right now I'm digging into.
They can go to your website and check out what's going on for you.
You can always go to my website, see what's happening. You can always reach out to me. You can always check out some of my content right now as well too. So I'm in a pocket of figuring out some of what's next, but I always offer personal coaching. So it's there.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this is Paul. I'm out. And listen, I got the New Wellness Men's Guide coming March 1st. March 1st.
Ooh.
I'm excited about it, man. I am amped. Ooh, wait till you see what I've been cooking up in the lab.
Wait, so what is this? I haven't heard about it yet. What is this?
Yeah, man. I've been getting the message, talk to the men, man. And so like I'm putting this concoction together on some things that I've amassed over the past couple of years, like as I've come out of this malaise from the divorce. like what are some of the things that have helped me come into this space of myself and like
Yeah.
staying true. So physical movement,
Mm-hmm.
yoga, breathing, mudras, some workbook activities. So it's been some real cool stuff. The pilot starts on March 15th for the 6-week program.
Ah,
And I'm excited about it. I mean, like it's an unknown for me because I don't like a lot of detail,
right.
and I gotta be in the details and just be accountable. And right now I'm in the process of, as I'm creating this, I'm living it
Mm.
and experiencing the energy shifts and like and how I'm expanding, where I tend to contract, and those are all things that, like we talked about, that are important for us to know, man. It's
Yeah.
and specifically men, because I feel like we don't take this on for ourselves because we don't we tend to not take care of ourselves, like whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I need to get out and work. I can't take a day off, man. Things got to get paid, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna break down at some point. So I'm helping them, man. I'm not looking to be I don't know. I'm like really looking to be a guide so men can find themselves, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's that light in the freaking darkness. So see that lantern? No, this is my path. Your path is right there. I'm just gonna hold this right here so you can traverse it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's just where I am, man. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Great, great. So this is a whole program, 6-week program, huh? Nice.
Yeah, man. I'm like, okay, now it's out there.
Great. All right, cool. Well, I hear
Love
you,
it,
man.
brother.
Now you're on the hook to commit and follow through.
There it is, brother. There it is, man. March 1st. Joe, always a pleasure, man. And I'll see you in the next conversation.
All right.
Peace.